So the term behavioral finance, it's sort of a buzzword right now in the retirement industry. Could you provide a little more of a technical definition, but one that we can certainly translate into English?
Sure. And let me use an analogy to do that. We're all familiar with optical illusions. There's a famous one where there are two parallel lines, one on top of each other, and one of them has fins at the end that make it look like an arrowhead on either side, and one that makes it look like it's the feathers on either side. And for those of you who have seen that one, you know when you look at it that that bottom one, the one with the feathery ends, always looks longer than the one that has the arrowheads on the end. And you know that they're actually the same size. But then even after you know that they're the same size, the bottom one still looks longer. And the way we would describe that optical illusion is we all see the same thing. It's not as if I see one of them shorter and you see the other one shorter. We all see the same one shorter, the same one longer. And even when we cognitively know that they're the same size, we still see that one longer than the other. And it drives us nuts, or at least it does for me. Well, that kind of concept is really what behavioral finance is about. There's this old model that people were rational economic actors, as if you would rationally look at those lines and figure out that they were the same size. But the reality is the behavioral finance research tells us that we all have certain biases. We all see things, or we feel things, or we are inclined to do things in a particular way. And what's important for people to recognize about behavioral finance is we all have the same biases, and even when we know we have the bias, it still affects us. So the behavioral finance research gives us insight into how real people respond to their environment, make decisions, and are affected by things that have influence over them, even when we think they don't, and even when we know that they're influencing us and try not to let it happen, just like those optical illusions, it still happens to us.
So you've mentioned research. Can you maybe share a couple examples or share some learnings from the research that are going to be applicable to the way participants or employees are acting or maybe not acting in 401k plans?
Sure. There are a couple that are particularly apropos when it comes to retirement plans. A couple that come to mind include defaults, anchoring, choice architecture, and framing. Now, here I am using the buzzwords, so let me go down that list rather quickly and explain what they are. A default means what happens when somebody does nothing.